Alrighty. All right. Hi guys, happy Friday. Igor and Anu here with Vinous for Every Wine Merchant out here in Walnut Creek, California. Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
What is this? What
A
do we do?
show for the adventurous wine drinker.
Okay.
As usual. But what we're drinking today is a dessert wine.
I know. I'm really excited.
Yes.
Not something we have that often.
Tenuta di Castellaro, Malvasia del Lipari.
So Malvasia is the grape.
Yes.
And it's from Lipari, which is an island off the northern coast of Sicily.
Yes.
It's part of the Aeolian Islands.
Yes. And in the style of the wine, it's Pasito wine, but it's Malvasia del Lipari. So it's specifically to
This island?
To this the style of the island. Yes.
Okay.
So Malvasia itself, the grape, it has a lot of variations. It's
but is it always a dessert wine or
no, and it's not always a white wine either. It could be a white wine. Yes, it could be a red wine. It could be done dry. It could be a dessert wine.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's interesting history. At least people think of how it came from. So they think the name is Greek from the ancient Greek port town of Malvasia, which was on the eastern end of the Peloponnese Peninsula, and sweet wine was like a big part of the local trade, and through kind of the centuries, the Venetian civilization, they actually were trading wine, from ports, and they called them vinum di Malvasia.
Okay. Well, if it's good enough for the Venetians, right? Like...
Well, in honor of the Greeks,
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this was a city, city-state, and they were. They used to conquer people, so that part of the economic trade was also the dessert wines,
right?
And yes, so they were building fortresses within the Aeolian Islands, and when they were moving from island to island, they were transporting dessert wine. So
that was the commodity.
Dessert wine was in fashion that time. So, but there's many different Malvasias. And several Malvasias, Malvasia di Sardinia, Malvasia de Sitges.
Ooh, we have been to Sitges.
Yes, that's in Spain. Yes, it's right. I think it's north of Barcelona.
Yeah, it's a very fun town.
Yeah, Malvasia Candida, which is from Madeira, and Malvasia Dubrovka, which is Eastern European. I'm not sure where it comes from. Different names, but it's actually the same variety. Like I mentioned before, DNA filing, there are many different DNAs for Malvasia, but these four are like the same one. So the one from the Aeolian Island, that's the same as the other four.
Okay.
It's been made in Pasito style. And pasito means that it's also a very ancient way of making dessert wine, and it means you have to sun dry the grapes.
Okay, yeah.
To kind of a little bit raisiny.
Yeah, all right.
And current production is still done in that ancient style. That's still how they're doing it. It's very labor intensive and not very efficient, but that's the way they're still doing this wine. It actually. For part, it was they call it the precious sweet wine used as vino di soblio, or currency which doctors' bills were settled with.
Oh, okay.
So barter system. You heal me, I'll give you some dessert wine.
Yeah, well, we could all use some.
So
I did think it was interesting. I was reading that until the 1980s, this was basically just like a Lipari local wine, like the locals drank it.
Yes.
But then after the 1980s, it got really popular, and they started planting more of it. And then right now, like back again, dry wine is all the fashion. No one wants to talk about dessert wines right now.
Yes.
It's considered unsophisticated to like dessert wine, I think, so.
Yes.
And we got to talk about that a little bit, because that's a false assumption.
I think we should have to show the map.
Okay, you just love maps.
I love maps.
Okay.
So we have so the Aeolian Islands are on the north coast of Italy in the Tyrrhenian Sea.
Okay.
So there's like I think 7 islands, and I circle here Lipari. So Lipari is the second biggest island in terms of wine production. Actually, there's another island, Solari, which is the biggest island. and they're also known for making capers. I think they're most of the world's production of capers that comes from these islands.
Okay, and that's critical because you need capers for
your favorite dish,
pasta puttanesca, which we've already talked about before, so we won't get into that again.
Yeah. This is a wine that's very rare, as you were mentioning, partly because it's only made in such tiny portions.
Right.
So Tenuta di Castellaro, they're the biggest producer, by far the biggest producer on the Lipari island.
It's the largest winery, right?
Yeah, and they have majority of the vineyards. But I'm not even sure how many wineries there are on that. They're most likely the only ones that's being exported. And as you were mentioning, in the 60s, there was a gentleman, I'm blanking on his name right now, but he basically started creating this, bringing back this sweet style. And then the Italian magazines, the wine magazines, kind of got a hold of it and started giving them high scores, and the reputation really flourished. So in the 80s,
it was happening.
So this style from Lipari, everybody in Italy started making dessert wines. So not only in these islands, everybody, Passito, they were making them in Venice, Alto Adige. It was a big fad. But now it's kind of the fad has changed. Now people like more dry wines. And you can hardly find these wines on any restaurants or anywhere, actually. I'm pretty sure we're one of the very few stores that actually carry this dessert wine, this particular Malvasia di Lipari. So, that's kind of the interesting thing. In fact, there's only 15 producers who make this wine.
So this is rare. I mean, first of all, I had it earlier, so let me know when we're ready to taste, because I can't wait to talk about tasting notes. This is really special. Are you ready to have some?
Yes.
Okay. It tastes special. It tastes very nice. Yes. Can I talk about tasting notes, or you have more?
No, I want to taste it now.
Okay.
No, I think I'm done.
All right, cool. Well, first of all, this wine got 17 out of 20 points. One of Jancis Robinson's wine critics, right? She gave it a really high score. And I think that score is right on spot. So 17 out of 20, different scale, but very high score, 17. Yeah. So baked apple, raisins, figs, apricot, and a little bit of citrus. It's like got a very nice, long, honeyed flavor.
Yes.
But I think the key element is very balanced. It does not feel syrupy. Very great, bitter orange acidity at the end. It's very nice. To me, this is an exquisite sipping wine.
Yes.
So.
And Sicily, volcanic soils. So I think we've touched this subject quite a few times before. I think it's probably the revelation of our virtual tastings is that how many spectacular wines come from volcanic soils. And mostly we're talking about red and white wines, but in this case it's a dessert wine. So
that we should buy property with volcanic soil, because apparently that's the theme.
Don't tell it to anyone.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's great. It's a great wine. In terms of food pairings, I think the rule is with dessert wines that your wine should be sweeter than your dessert.
Yes.
I would not pair this with chocolates. Actually, I would just sip this. But if you must, I would say maybe like a tart, an apple tart, or maybe tiramisu, because it might play off the alcohol in tiramisu. But I'm not quite sure. I think it's safer to have a tart or just sip it plain because it's so good on its own. Yeah,
I think this after dinner drink is spectacular.
Yeah, maybe cheese. You could do cheese.
Yeah, cheese, and I'm with you. I think I always the white dessert wines. I think tarts are really good pairing, and then apple pear tarts. Fruits like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and I was mentioning how this is very. Labor-intensive wine, and that's the fascinating thing about this the dessert wines, because what I've noticed, it's actually more expensive to make dessert wine than it is to make dry wines, and which kind of described you have to, in this particular situation, sun dry the grapes.
Which means when you sun dry the grapes, there's not that much juice left in it, right? So then the obvious thing is you have less quantity of liquid.
Yes, that's why, a lot of them come in half bottles, and frequently, they're relatively expensive. Depending, for like a 750 milliliter bottle, which could retail for cheaper, but it's so labor intensive. There are probably not that much margins on these wines, and they're like spectacular wines. And just in general about dessert wine, what I've noticed is that they're more expensive to make, and consistently they get higher scores from critics.
Yeah.
Consistently, from ports to sauternes, the famous dessert wines, to this wine, which was made in small production, so you don't see many reviews. But in this case, Julia Hardin from Jensen Robinson got to taste this wine and was able to score that.
Okay.
It's the fad. It's kind of what we were talking about before. The consumer, they don't read criticism. They go with like brands. They go with familiarity. Yeah. And I think frequently either there's ego or intimidation of trying something new, or just this false belief like, oh, sweet, I don't like sweet wines. It's like, well, there's a good possibility you haven't even tasted that many sweet wines to know whether you like them or not.
And I think the two things you said, so I don't like sweet wines, I think there's also a level of disrespect towards sweet wines, because there's a lot of mass-produced unsophisticated sweet wine, and a lot of wine drinkers, when you first start getting into wine, maybe you only like white or you only like those sweetened wines, but that's not what we're talking about here. That's different. But I think that's why people say that dessert wine is not sophisticated, therefore I don't like it, I like dry wine. And you touched on ego. I think a lot of it is, we just naturally all have a desire to say that we are experts on something, but I think it's more interesting to say, yes, I'm still learning. I mean, we're still learning about wine, and that's how you kind of get better and find more interesting things.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because Jensen Robinson in a confessional, she said that the one time that she knew that where she thought that she knew everything about wine is when she got her master of wine degree. Okay. And then as she started getting into the field, she realized how little she actually knew.
Yeah. That's a very honest,
But this last thing, as we mentioned, this is like a current fad. That's what it is. Hey, these wines were great for the Venetians, right? These wines were great for the Greeks. Tokaj, the famous wine from Hungary. Yes. They have the Austro-Hungarian Empire. All the royalty were drinking those wines. They actually call them elixirs.
Yes. Probably wrote operas about them, right?
Yeah, I mean the most famous wines are the sweet Rieslings from the Moselle. I mean these are just like spectacular wines. So the palace of all those people were wrong, and now the current generation of consumers knows what like good wine tastes like. There's a good possibility it's the opposite way. Maybe the current generation does not know what's the best thing. I think it's the best to explore, and I think at the end of the day, it's don't miss out yourself. I mean, you might be missing out on a spectacular wine.
Yeah, I think this is a great wine. You're not going to regret buying it. This is an excellent gift. This is an excellent, I think, holiday treat wine. It's Christmas or New Year's. This is a great wine to have. So.
No, and delicious. Just so many flavors in your mouth, and such citrus acidity at the end to balance everything out.
I know.
It's just beautiful. Yeah.
I'm so glad that we are taste reviewing it.
Yes.
to make sure that it makes the cut as if we didn't know, but it's fun.
It is fun. Yeah. Cool. No, it's a good wine. Try it out. Try out more dessert wines. I think less and less people are trying them, so you could be cool, but doing the opposite of what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. This is our show for the adventurous wine drinker. Find us for every wine merchant. We are the best wine shop in the East Bay. We think, possibly the world, in fact. Yeah. But we'll go with
that's what I think. But, some people say it might be biased.
Yeah, there's some slight bias there, but anyways. Thanks, guys. Take care. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next Friday for another wine tasting review.
Thank you, guys.
Take care. Bye.
Have fun. Bye.